I am back here at Canyon HQ, and today we're going to be looking at the new Canyon Endurace. As usual, I'm going into a bit of a deeper dive than most videos into the tube shapes and the new features that it has. And of course, I'm going to weigh the bike in. You can expect this to be fairly light because it is the top of the range CFR model. With that being said, as usual, let's start at the top. So the first feature that we're going to find here is it does come with Canyon's integrated cockpit, and this is the same that you find on the Ultimate and the Aeroad. And of course that is purely for aerodynamics to make an endurance bike faster. And if you need to, you can adjust the handlebar widths as well. You've got 39, 41 or 43 options on the width. Staying towards the top, we are going to come to the seat post, and it comes with that ergon split seat post, and honestly this works very, very well. I'm actually a big fan. If you've ever used one before, you will know exactly how good they are. I think they've kept with a normal circle design seat post for this bike purely so they could fit this on here. Then of course we can't talk about this bike without talking about its new top tube snake. So it just has a little flip lever there, quite easy to take off, and as you pull that out, it all snakes out, and actually it's a bit awkward. So this is all of it here. It does come with the snake, but you do have to buy all of the tools on top for this. The tools that you can buy for it is the CO2 breaker. If we unscrew that there is a tubeless plug in that as well. Now, probably most interesting thing about this tool is that this is actually a torque wrench, so you can get your torque ratings with that, and your tools for that sit at the bottom here. Then next on the list, you've got your CO2, which sits in the middle there. And then finally, the penultimate one is the tire levers. So it is long, it does go right the way through there, but it is very narrow and quite fiddly. Obviously, you're not planning on puncturing very often, so it's probably not too much of an issue, but I do think I prefer Canyon's grail option that they have, where it's down here and you've got much more space, because you cannot fit an inner tube in here as well. Maybe if you have a TPU one, you could probably stuff it up front in there if you wanted, but at the end of the day, I think you're still going to be carrying a saddlebag with this bike. Now we can start to get onto the interesting areas of the frame. So this is a paint job that I really like. It comes in a nice matte black, and then all of the decals are this interesting kind of iridescent green on there. So you've got the CFR on the top. You have, of course, got the head tube logo. On the CFR model, there's this one. It is textured. It's not there for aerodynamic reasons. It's just there to look nice. And then you have a lot of the same pattern on this like dotted green iridescent pattern on the back here, as well as your standard Canyon logo bits. And I think from this angle is the best angle that you can actually see the colors of that Canyon logo there. When we come to the rear itself, so it looks like the Canyon Ultimate now, and that's the way that Canyon are going for most of their bikes. But interestingly for this one, the seat post comes down here, so there's still lots of space. But for aerodynamic reasons, it actually cuts in here, and this section almost sits back from the top section there, which looks a little bit funky, but I think aerodynamically it looks quite cool still. The width for the tires is massive here, and to be honest, that goes for the front and the back of the frame. I mean, you've got loads of space in there. So if you wanted to fit gravel wheels to this bike, you could do that no problem. And after seeing that, this bike seems like it will be more of a hybrid bike between gravel and road. The fork is also an interesting shape. It's actually a very narrow fork from the front here. And it is, of course, quite a deep fork. So it seems like they've gone comfort with aerodynamics on this bike. Sticking with the wheels, these come with much wider tires than you would normally stock. So on the front here, we have a 30mm, and being Canyon, they are good tires. They're the Schwalbe Pro 1, so very fast rolling resistance tire. And interestingly, on the back, they've gone even wider. They've gone for a 32 just to add to comfort. And this is a nice chunky boy. So you can see it's 32 wide, but you've got loads of space for wider tires if you need. Because it's not a gravel bike, there's no bottle cage bolts underneath here. This is just for access for your integrated cables. The next interesting thing we've got here is the front derailleur hanger here is exposed carbon, and this is actually part of the frame itself. It's all one piece. So then Canyon, being with their partnership with DT Swiss, they've of course got DT Swiss wheels on here, and these are their ERC 1100s, and they're 45mm deep. The spoke nipples are not exposed. hardly any penalty. I think it's going to make maintenance a little bit harder if you need to adjust there, but they do come with these nice bladed spokes. They actually look really cool. I think it's very clear from the frame shapes, they're going for an endurance bike, but they have made it much more aerodynamic. The things I like most are the tyre width and the tyre clearance, combined with the actual aero features, the integrated cockpit, the frame shapes. I actually really like the design of this bike. I think they've got most of it right. Apart from the space in the top tube there, they probably could have put that in the down tube to allow more storage so you don't need to carry a saddlebag. As I said earlier, this is the CFR model, so we do have to weigh it in. This bike is in frame size medium, so probably around the middle of the weight range, and let's get it checked. Without pedals, this bike comes in at 7.4 kilos. And I'm actually quite impressed with that, especially considering the chunkier frame sizes. The final interesting thing about this bike is, of course, the geometry is different to the Canyon Aeroad and the Ultimate. It's much more comfortable. They've got a shorter top tube. And in the past, Canyons used to come out a little bit large. I think this bike is a bit more true to size, I believe, in terms of the frame. If you are looking to buy a Canyon and don't know what size to buy, I have a link to that video to help you find the right size. This has been my first look at the Canyon Endurace CFR. If you found this video interesting or useful, please give it a like for me. If you have any comments, stick them down below. I've been Jason, this is Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in the next video.